was that? What? What's that sound? Where? It's aliens and they're living in your town. Damn. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town.
Hello, weirdos out there in Weirdo Land. It's the Weird and Whatever podcast, but tonight it's going to be the Friends Forever podcast. We've had some things go down today.
Yeah, I had something on the schedule that I didn't realize was as late as it was, and then it ended up getting moved, so we canceled the podcast, but it's kind of, we canceled it, so it's kind of tough to tell everyone to come back, so we just decided to go ahead and just do a podcast.
It looked like Dennys might be out of the game till, 6:30 p, and then all of a sudden it changed around 4:30.
I would have had to come by here and set up stuff. It would have been tough.
So you got just me and Sweet Denny. So we apologize if you guys are Sicky Vicky heads or Wreck It Beckett.
I like that. I like both
Check
those.
It. Yeah, whatever. But, it's me and Sweet Denny's, and our motto. It's free.
It's free AF.
Let's go ahead and talk about a few things that's going on today. I don't know if you guys are aware. It is International, where's my notes at?
International what?
There's so many of them, Denny's.
So each day is kind of too loaded, in my opinion. If you go to that National Today site.
Yeah, they've got, for example, today you've got a International Bitcoin Pizza Day.
Like what?
What the shit does that mean?
Bitcoin pizza? Are you supposed to get pizza with Bitcoin?
I don't know. It's Chardonnay Day. Are you and Jen wine drinkers?
Jen is a wine drinker. I am not.
Your wife, Jen, she is a wine drinker?
Yes, she likes wine. She'll enjoy a wine in the evenings, and then on days off and stuff in the evenings for sure. But I'd say I used to like wine, and I'm not opposed to it by any means, but I definitely do not drink it just on the reg.
It's also Buy a Musical Instrument Day, and one of the most popular emails I get are people who are older that, let's say they're in their 50s or 60s, and they go, Bird, I would love to learn an instrument, but I feel like it's too late in my life to do it. I feel silly. That hurts my heart because you're never too old
Absolutely.
to learn an instrument. You're never too old to learn a trade of the arts, in my opinion. But I would say, if you are older, learning an instrument is great therapy.
Yeah.
You're not trying to sign a deal with Columbia Records. So get that out of your mind. Don't feel silly about learning an instrument. If you're 59 years old and you've never picked it up before, you're doing it for a few reasons. You're doing it because it's good for your mental health. You're also doing it because you're learning an instrument and you're bettering yourself.
I would agree.
And then also, too, there's something about music, man. It does heal a lot of people's souls, especially in the moment. You got anxiety, you can pick up an instrument or get into writing, whether it's poetry, anything creative, I think is such a great mental health helper, and it can get you out of a time of despair. So a day like this, Buy an Instrument Day, if you're on the fence, don't think it's silly. Buy it. Everything's cheap these days.
Totally.
You can buy cheap ass guitars.
And I'd say just know that you're going to suck at first. There's nothing you can do about it, but that's part of what it is. You're supposed to suck at first.
Well, that's the journey.
Totally.
It's not on-demand culture where you pick it up and you know how to, I always use the analogy, you can't, put a seed in the ground and have it grow right away. You got to wait for it.
So I'd say even working out, going on a diet, I would give everything 30 days, to where before you'll even see a result. But that's where you'll see your first result, and then hopefully that becomes infectious and that drives you to try to see that next result, which is probably another 30 days. But then when you look back in 3 months, you're going to go, oh my gosh, I made a ton of progress. You can actually physically see the progress.
Back in the day, there was a baseball coach that I had, and he really believed this. And I'm interested to hear what the chat room thinks. Do they agree with this kind of mentality or theory? He said if you have a bad habit of anything, if you really practice and worked every single day, now the right techniques, you can break any bad habit in 30 days.
I can see that. 30 days is, I think, a good time frame.
Now, bad habit's kind of a blanket statement because, the bad habit he was trying to get me to break was throwing a baseball the correct way with my arm. That's different than trying to get someone not to do heroin.
Well, yeah, I get you.
So bad habit is a blanket statement. But do you think most kind of, and I'm talking about not your major cocaine addiction, heroin, but let's say you are doing some bad habits. 30 days, do you believe in that study if you do the work?
Yeah, I'd say 30 days, and then I'd say 60 days would be your next marker. And then I think you'll plateau for a second, but then your next marker is greater. I always, at least from anything I've ever done, I play a lot of Mortal Kombat, and sometimes you change some of the stuff that you're doing, but you're so ingrained to do it one way. It takes a while to break that rhythm that you had before.
Yeah, breaking a habit takes work, and
I
think that's the reason why they say it's got to be 30 days of solid, solid exercises of doing the right techniques. Now, you can do 30 days of horse shit.
Totally.
It may not, if you're not doing it the right way, I don't think it helps. But yeah, chat room, and let us know what you think. And thank you for joining us on this lovely Thursday. It's been a weird Thursday, Dennys.
It has been. I just remember when I was golfing, if you had bad technique, you would have to practice their way. And at first it's so uncomfortable. But humans are designed to get muscle memory pretty quick.
They are, and I also want to say we are 17 deep watching right now. I mean, dude, we are making numbers here. I love it. Oh, up to 18. Thank you, weirdos, for tuning in.
Yeah.
We also have National Chardonnay. No, we already did that. World Goth Day.
Oh wow, World Goth.
Did you?
Not even just national.
No, we're going across the globe on the goth.
Goths are big across the globe. Germany's got lots of goths.
Now, did you ever go through a goth phase?
Yeah, it's weird. I grew up in. I'd say so what's kind of cool is my year corresponds with like what grade I was in. So in 96 I was in 6th grade. 97 I was in 7th grade. It lines up like that for whatever reason. So when I graduated in 12th grade, that'd be 2002, so there was so many different fads. I think in 96, I was wearing Jinko jeans, big old giant jeans that cover my shoes.
And that dick.
And then corduroy got big. Corduroy was big for, I'd say like 97, I was wearing corduroy pants. And then, denim came in, but we were talking before, I was wearing No Fear shirts. You just go through so many different like styles. So there was definitely a punk. You're wearing the belt with the studs on it and stuff, going to concerts, wearing bracelets, painting your fingernails.
Do you think I ever went through a goth phase?
I do not think
Was that ever David Lee Goth, in your opinion?
Did you ever dress like The Undertaker?
I can honestly say I never, ever went through a goth phase, but I did ask out, I think, 3 different goth girls. And I got to tell you, goth girls do not sweat my act. Do not like...
I can see that.
Do not like the Birdman's act at all. I think I'm a little too goofy or...
So I was in drama and whatever that theater.
Well, that's apparent because we've seen you in the KVJ horror movies.
You're right. So I carried those skills into my life, but I was actually lighting. So I worked with. So I worked amongst a lot of the theater folk.
Isn't that funny? Every time you try to do something behind the scenes, you end up in front of the camera or in front of the microphone. How is that?
At some point, I don't know. I think people just like my.
They like your act, kid.
My cringiness, yeah.
No cringiness. Come on, you're Dennys.
I'm saying when I'm acting and stuff, I am not a good actor.
I think I disagree. I was watching because we're working on our KVJ horror movie. We're in the beginning stages of it right now, and so when we get in the beginning stages of, we like to go back and watch our old movies just to see how we can get better, how the lighting
what we can improve.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's really just 3 people doing it. It's me, Dennys, and a Twigs.
It's Victims Galore. That intro scene with you, me, and Suits we three shot that. You know what I'm saying? That was
we're
only,
all the cameramen, and we kind of prefer it that way, only just because
we know what we're doing. We know what we need and want,
and we get along. And I think when you're doing something, especially something like that, you want to get along with the crew, and be comfortable with it. But I was watching some of your beginning acting.
Gosh,
man, we gotta fucking release those clips, because there's a part where you go, "I don't know nothing," as the cop's asking you about getting teenage girls high on angel dust.
Yes.
I don't know nothing, and it is some of the best worst acting I've ever seen.
Oh man!
And you didn't want to do it, but you were a great sport and still did it.
I remember that. It was at your old apartment. And we needed that scene, and I remember JR came over just to film that.
But our buddy JR.
Yes.
Yeah. So you had tell me a little bit about your baby visit today. Baby Lachlan, my godson, who I just love. There's a video on our YouTube. I've watched it 50 times. Is when he snuggles me and looks up and smiles. It fucking melts my heart, man.
He's pretty cute.
I'm not gonna lie. And you had an appointment with him today.
Yeah, when they turn 2. So there's big milestones where they have to go to the doctor and stuff. I thought, a lot of times they'll get shots and whatever, and you feel bad. It wasn't anything like that. They just kind of check in. They did do a blood test, it came out well. So all positive stuff. But you always get, it's always, you get nervous as you approach these things.
Well, even the dentist, I get nervous. I'm always afraid they're going to go, well, you have molar cancer. It's a new thing, and you have it. I don't like being in the waiting room. I don't like filling out the paperwork. I don't like the wait before the wait in the first room of 5 rooms you have to wait in.
Yeah, I feel like you just get moved from station to station, and you don't really know what's happening.
They really know how to ice the kicker. Really know how to make you think.
One thing I've noticed, because I'll take my mom to doctor's appointments, and I went to the dentist recently, I just show up early. And they'll take you right then. A lot of times, I think they're not used to that. So I'll show up 30 minutes early. I showed up 30 minutes early. I was finishing my appointment 10 minutes after my original appointment was supposed to be. It was just amazing.
Yeah, with my hip stuff, what sucked was there was a lot of stuff that was going on where I'd go to one appointment and they'd go, you need to go to this appointment real quick and do it now. So you're mentally prepared for about an hour and a half medical thing.
Oh my gosh.
And then all of a sudden it turns into like a 5.5 hour day. And then you still got to go home and do work. And no one gives a fuck. They don't care if it's a 6-hour medical day. You still got to get your shit done.
That's kind of what sucks about if you blow a tire and you're driving. It's like, that's at least 2.5 hours of dealing. If you don't have a spare in your trunk. Some of these new cars don't have spares.
Yes, there are certain problems in the world where they are so infuriating and it brings out the worst in pretty much every human. But if you explain it to somebody, they could not give a shit. Like the other day when today's day and age, it's hard to lose your prep, your email, whatever you're working on. And I was distracted with something that I should not have been doing. And it was, and it really threw me off my game. And it fucking pissed me off so bad. And somehow during that whole entire process, as I was working on shit, everything got deleted. And I know people are going to email me, Bird, try CAD, Control. It's gone, guys.
Dumb.
It's gone. It's never coming back. But when you realize all of that work you've done is gone and it's not coming back, you do go through a stage.
Yes.
Like there's stages of anger, denial, depression.
Oh, yeah. Dude, one of my phones, I was getting it upgraded, right? And I write down my jokes throughout the week, as I think of them. Or I write down, anything I think is funny that I could turn into a joke. And when I went and traded my phone in, it backed up to my cloud account from a day and a half before. So it didn't have any of the stuff I wrote for 2 days. It was devastating. That type of stuff is just...
It does. And then what happens, I get so mad about it internally. It really tears me up. Because then you start to type the same thing you just typed. And I'll get maybe 10 words in. And
Oh,
So I
sometimes.
gotta get up and take a walk.
So I usually will take a walk and then come back to visit it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll write it better the second time. I look at it, I go, you know what? I wrote it kind of shittily the first time. I could have made it a little more clear. I could have cut out this. I could have made it more concise.
You are so zenful.
Well, sometimes
Yes.
sometimes it's not as easy.
It's yes. Did you learn that Eccotillion?
But that's just how I
Because
look
I learned
at
how
it.
to handle my problems at family dinner.
That's how I look at it, so I don't get so mad.
No, look, tech rage is real. I think road rage is real, but nothing will bring it out worse. The worst version of myself is tech rage.
If any tool you're using breaks, I was raking, and the whole head came off the rake. The first thing I raked, I just go, "What the fuck is this?" Like I couldn't believe it.
Knots can get the best of me as well.
Oh, dude,
I mean, and I have some knack of, and I'm even trying, Denny's, to make my chords be organized. And by the time they get home, they're in a BTK knot. They're in a murderous BTK knot. I have no idea what I did.
Oh my god!
And it just drives me up the wall.
So and I'm not trying to bash our sales team, but we
shit.
we all share a printer. There's one communal printer in the middle of the sales pit, right? The sales team has a nasty habit of printing 5,000 documents and then leaving for the day. The printer only has enough paper slots for 500 in a ream. Dude, I come in and I'm printing emails, right? And I'll go grab them before the dirt of the day so I could get them for birthdays and stuff. And it'll print 500 documents. I'll have to go through 2 reams before it even gets to my stuff.
Y'all, this right here is Denny's just getting it all out.
Oh, that's when I get really tech rage.
This is a fired up Denny's I've never heard him so upset. I've seen you upset one time.
I remember when I was getting flack for the amount, because I print up those photos people are sending in, and we were using so much ink. I just heard the sass from everyone.
The only time I ever seen you legit get mad, and I have to be careful on the details, it was during a meeting. And it was, you actually stood up and kind of like hit your hand on a table and said, "What is this bullshit?"
I was like, I forget what I said.
I remember it was, "What is this bullshit?" And it was pretty fucking awesome.
That's funny.
One day we'll be able to tell that story. And I know that's annoying to our audience.
Sure.
I try not to do that because I get annoyed when I hear somebody talk on a podcast or whatever. Got this great story. And by the way, we can't tell you anything.
You guys don't know.
So we're just gonna give you blue balls. But it's more of just saying, I've only seen you get legit overly emotional one time since I've known you, and it was well deserved, by the way.
I hear ya. Yeah, that's funny.
What is this bullshit? Love it.
I usually don't. I try to step back and take a breath.
Well, I mean, and you do 99. You're also human.
For
So
sure.
You're allowed to have a "what is this bullshit?" Like everyone's allowed to have those moments.
For sure.
Well, especially if something's bullshit. I hate the whole you're being oversensitive or you're being defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are people who are oversensitive and defensive, and they should be called out. But when you are legit, or the other one's insecure,
Yeah.
if people give you legitimate reasons to be defensive or sensitive or insecure, you're not a crazy person.
Well, no, that's
and
somebody
you have the
trying to-
right to feel that way.
Well, that's somebody trying to
Gaslight you.
Exactly.
And that person's a dick face, and you should eliminate them out of your life.
Well, I'd say that's just their tactic on how they get things done.
You're right.
And it doesn't align with your tactics.
And something tells me a gaslighter doesn't think they're doing anything wrong.
I feel I notice that sometimes.
Well,
too.
we all know assholes out there that are legitimate assholes. In fact, if they walked in a room and they talked to everybody, as soon as they walked out of the room, everyone would go, "What an asshole," in unison. But I don't think that asshole gives a shit. I think assholes like being assholes.
Sometimes I think they do.
There's definitely a type of person that gets off of being an asshole, and they could give a frog's fat ass.
There's some people that just do not care.
They don't,
They
man.
just don't care. They're cavalier. They're brazen about it.
It is. It's weird. I think with that said, it might be time for some Denny's random facts. Do you have? If you don't have any,
yeah,
it's
I
no
got
big
some
deal.
right here.
I love it. Our sweet Denny's. He just hunts the internet, finding some great factoids, and he teaches us a thing or 8. No grading tonight, Denny's. They're all A's in my book. Floor's yours.
These are just for fun.
And just so you know, if you are tuning in late live, I apologize for the repeat of the announcement. Beckett and Vicky are not here tonight. Denny's didn't think he's going to be able to make it, so he canceled. And then Vicky also had a school event that kind of worked out
I saw that they were kind
perfect.
of making plans in the group chat, and I go,
Yeah.
well, we can't tell them they have to come back to work. You
Yeah.
know? So I was like, let's
wanted
just,
to be cool. So at least, we're trying to do our friendship.
Yeah.
Our friendship podcast.
Well,
mixed in with some weird.
They made some plans. So.
All right, Denny's, let's get some factoids going.
So did you ever hear of the C-Lab project? There was a C-Lab TV show, but I guess it was based on an actual project of the government. In 1965, they did the C-Lab 2 project, the U.S. Navy Underwater Habitat Experiment. It aimed to explore the feasibility and limits of humans living and working underwater for extended periods of time. But during this, they trained a dolphin that they named Tuffy to deliver tools and messages to the scientists from the surface down to the underwater laboratory, and the dolphin would bring them supplies. And through the entire mission, they completed the entire mission and did tests. They noticed that psychologically it caused a lot of issues, but the reason being is that anytime they had to do deep dives back then, the decompression chamber, so they wouldn't get the bends, they'd have to be in there sometimes for up to a week, from working. So they were trying to find a way where you could live in the same compression. That way you wouldn't have to decompress while doing work.
I got to tell you, man, I think when it comes down to the end of the days, we're going to find out that dolphins had a major role in some stuff. I think they are quite a smart creature, and they may have an integral piece of just how the environment works. I think they are one of the gifted creatures out there that we haven't learned enough about. And the more we learn, the more we find that they are quite brilliant.
It's weird that 2 of what they consider to be the smartest creatures are in the ocean. Like I would say your octopus and your dolphin are considered to be 2 of the most intelligent animals.
So octopus does, it's known as being a brainiac.
Yeah, it's considered a very unique animal.
Unique, I get, but
I'm
super
saying,
smart.
Well, so smart. It has defenses. It can camouflage. It has articulated not hands, but it uses its appendages. It can unscrew jars.
And that shit, it looking alien, man.
So it looks like an alien. So if you look back, like when was the octopus discovered? It was pretty. It was like late when they actually documented it. You know what I'm saying?
That's pretty awesome.
1853. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't even that long ago.
Dude, that's not that long. That's when they discovered the octopus?
The octopus as we know it today, was described in a book by William Alfred Leach in 1853. And then I think Jacques Cousteau also was on like a hunt for it as well.
It was hard to find then, I guess.
Well, dude, we just didn't have any technology to go anywhere deep in the
What do you think was harder to find back in those times? The octopus or the human clitoris?
The octoclitoris. The clitorosaurus or the octopus.
Oh, a dinosaur's clitoris is probably just...
Giant?
I think a dinosaur clitoris would be the size of...
Your house? Well, it depends on what dinosaur.
A T-Rex clitoris.
Huge.
It's the size of, in my opinion, Roxy's the bar.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. Go on.
But yeah, so H.P. Lovecraft, who's an author I like, he writes a lot of sci-fi stuff. A lot of his sci-fi creature, anything that's alien, usually has some sort of like underwater octopus vibe, shark vibe, some sort of underwater creature vibe. And that's because during his time frame, they were just discovering these creatures, and he thought they were aliens.
It's interesting to hear you talk about it because clearly you've done the research. But I know you're the non-believer. You're the true skeptic of the show. Out of everything we talk about, from Mothman, paranormal stuff, Vicky being a psychic, creatures that are aliens living in the ocean, would that be the most believable thing you could get on board with?
I would think so, yeah.
And why is that?
Again, it's just weird how we were talking about they just discovered the octopus in 1853, right?
Yes.
We still don't have the ability to even go into the ocean, really, to like the abyssal depths.
They talk about Antarctica and how there's just some shit that at one point we couldn't get to, we can get to now. And they're finding some really weird shit in Antarctica.
Well, I think they found snails, too, that can live in lava. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're finding new... Because we have technology now that can... with that, you just get better surveillance. So we're discovering weird stuff. So I think the deeper we go in the ocean, they're going to find even weirder, crazier things.
Not to interrupt your segment, but you're 80 years old. Lachlan is at his age. I can't do the math real quick. What does the world look like in your opinion? You get to live to 80. What is the world?
80,
if
be another 40 years.
If you had to predict it from just where everything's going, what does the world look like as a producer Dennys at age 80?
All right. So we'll think 80 would be another 40 years. That would be the entire time I've lived till this point one more time. You know what I'm saying? Think about how long that is.
You're at the All-Star break. Yeah, you have a second half of an act.
Well, so, I mean, technology moves things quicker, but I think, dude, we still kind of just we'll still be kind of in the same. I don't think it's going to be that much different than now. In 80 years.
You don't think it'll be that much different?
No, because even if you look at old societies and such, they kind of still operated a lot the same. A lot of them had some sort of senate or government. There was people that carried out tasks, and there's people that sold goods. There was daycare. There were schools.
So I'm not sure that will change, but I'm talking about, I mean...
Like the landscape?
Well, just technology, landscape, what we're able to come up with, the technology that we do come up with, does that change the landscape?
Well, so say in the future, a lot of labor is now done by robots, right? So that gives people more time for art, more time for science, more time for things of that nature. So maybe, I guess, the landscape maybe changes to a more comfortable landscape, which people can come up with ideas and create things in.
So you see a utopia, you don't see hell on earth.
Well, it's just tough because I think the environment is ever changing, just as we exist and as the moon pulls away slowly and those things happen. I think our environment's going to be changing just like it has always done, you know?
Yes.
So I think with that, there's different cycles of life that exist. Because think about dinosaurs were 250 million years ago if you go by whatever they figured it out. That's so long ago. Think about how long that is. Think about just when we started at zero AD to present day. That's only been 2,000 years. 2,000 years in the other direction would be like I would say maybe building pyramids. But you know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't that long ago.
But I guess my whole thing is, since I've been on this rock, I've seen things develop on I would say a human, natural, gradual level. I would say in the last 5 to 10 years, especially the last 3 to 5, things have moved quite quickly. Mm-hmm. Quicker than I've ever seen anything. And that is, I think, the anomaly. That's the difference between...
You're right, information travels immediately.
Everything is so quick, and at a point like where Gremlins, if you get that reference, when they get wet, they multiply and if they eat after midnight, just once it starts, it starts to multiply. And I agree with you. Look, if you look throughout history, everything changes, everything gets different, everything evolves into a different type of society or way of living. But I do think that we are living in a unique situation where things were at quite normal pace,
slow progress,
that humans could handle. And I do think we're at a point now where it's so quick that our minds cannot keep up. I think we're in a unique time. Now, did this happen before? Long time ago, and this is rinse and repeat?
Probably right.
And we can't figure out the artifacts or whatever.
in the history between dinosaurs and humans, there was another, or even before, whatever, there's a different humanoid species that came up with laptops and had, Comedy
Their
Central.
own version of, yeah.
And they just wiped themselves out and disappeared to dust, and then millions of years later, somebody finds one artifact and doesn't know what it is.
That is a good question I would like to ask the chat room. Do you think we are living in the first big, technology boom with the internet and all of this stuff we're doing, or is this just a rinse and repeat? Has this happened so long ago? It got destroyed, it got ruined. We find an artifact here, an artifact there, but it's just its own version of rinse and repeat. Is that how the world or the universe goes?
Well, and if you go by, Pangea we had one supercontinent when it first started, and then over time that has slowly spread. And then if we're going that we had an ice age, and then all that melted, and we now have oceans. Who could be the land that people probably lived on for hundreds of thousands of years has probably been submerged for eons now.
I mean, the one thing I would love to do, obviously not hurt the animals, but just to drain everything in the water, just to see what.
We're just at the top of mountains, basically. Land is just the stuff that's just not underwater.
There's so much other shit out there, and I always bring up electricity. It was always there. Had to harness it.
Look at a globe. Look how much of it's blue. That's just submerged. We're living on just the continents that are exposed.
I had an atheist email me and talk about why he believes that there's no chance of an afterlife, and there's all of this stuff. And honestly, a lot of his arguments, and I mean no disrespect, it didn't really have. It was more just of an opinion of not liking the idea. Afterlife is stupid was pretty much his points. And I guess because I don't have the answers. Look, we could die.
None of us do.
And it could be nothing. It could be lights out. But I personally think being born on this weird rock, I didn't ask to be here. I just showed up. This is bizarre. This whole process is bizarre. You got animals, and you got lakes, and you've got mountains, and no one really knows why we're here. We're just here, and then we have to rely on other humans to tell us why we're here.
Yeah.
And then you realize as you get older, sometimes you can't trust humans, and then you have to maybe trust your gut or your own instinct or your own beliefs, and it's kind of an odd thing, especially when we try to figure all that out in real time, going, well, this is how it was back then. And this is how do we really know that?
If you're a historian, it's tough. There's so much to consider when trying to figure out why something is the way it is. You have to think about how was culture in that area? How was, their society? Did it have different hierarchies? Like, who was in control of what? Where did they learn this information from? Did they just push it because they were told they had to? Like, there's so many different things, and you have to look at, because they'll say, like, kind of, how the Bible has become so many different versions because so many different people have interpreted it. Each interpretation breaks it off into a different thing, and then people obsess about that one detail, and then they make it into a newer religion.
Yeah, and I don't want people that are in that field to think I'm disrespecting their work. I admire it. I think it's great, and I think you are giving us some answers, but I think it's just impossible.
Well, it's just too many hands touching it at that point.
And then how do you really know what the fuck was going on back then?
You're taking their word, but that's what I'm saying. There's just so many factors at play.
Yeah, I don't know. It's great stuff. Let me know what y'all think. I've often thought, are we going through just round 7 of technology and it's rinse and repeat, or did we finally figure out this technology that we're using now? Because we are really about to jump into a world that's going to blow your mind when it comes to medical stuff, when it comes to going to space. It's just going to get weird for, I think, people for a certain age. I think people that grow up into this, it's normal. It's their life. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it's evolving quick and it's moving fast. What are we going to do with technology? Medical stuff's great, but then people are living longer,
Yeah.
What's the recoil of that?
Masturbating more,
Well, it
watching
just-
their porn.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Then you have a society where people are living longer. Do they work longer? Are they retired longer?
Are they cool or are they dicky? Yeah, do we want humans
Well, that's what
to
I'm
live
saying,
to
dude.
150?
There's a point where it just like and then you want to go to space where there's islands where there's no natural water. They get water from rain. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Or they have to import every single thing, and that's just one island on this planet. You're trying to go to space and terraform, and it's going to cost so many resources. I'd say let's try to find ways to do all that on Earth first. You know?
No, it's a interesting perspective. Yeah. What else you got for some random facts? We're obviously going to be going on a more of a tangent podcast.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
we're down 2 people.
Well, it's talking about rewriting history. We were talking about that C Lab project.
By the way.
So on that same thing, they did a third C Lab, which had a tragic accident where I think one of the people kind of went like a little crazy on the ship and somebody died from it. So they didn't want that news to get out because at that same time, this was during Vietnam, at the same time, I guess there was a USS Pueblo incident, and they didn't want to draw more attention, so they swept it under the rug, and no one ever heard of this project.
Shit, man.
It's pretty crazy.
Dude, there's been so much stuff swept under the rug. Well, just think about the jobs you work at where something's gone wrong, and people, you know, they collectively see some shit go wrong. Like, oh, we're not telling the boss about this. Let's just keep it moving. That happens on every level of every job, don't you think?
Oh my gosh!
Even at the highest level,
especially probably at the highest, because people's
You're right.
Reputations are on the line.
I would agree.
What do you think about this? Is this a good idea or is this kind of like a messed up idea? There's a theme park in France which employs specially trained rooks, a member of the crow family, to pick up cigarette butts and small litter from the grounds of the park. Each time they do, they deposit it into a special box and they receive a food reward. So they've trained all the birds in the area, the crows that they have, to pick up all their litter.
Yeah, I'm sure that the birds are real pumped.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, well, it's neat, but is it kind of like unethical?
Dude, if we interviewed one of those birds right now and they could talk,
They'd be like, oh, the cigarette.
like they're making us do this. We don't want to do this shit. They're forcing us.
I just thought it was weird, but yeah, they got all the crows doing all their work for them.
Crows there's certain animals on this planet. If you're born a certain animal, you are fucked.
So crows are hated by people, but they're one of the smarter of the birds.
Go on.
I think crows are really intelligent. I think they can recognize faces.
Continue to go on.
So I think crows and ravens are two. Now, being a pigeon, that would be just horrible.
I just didn't know you were such a crow hoe.
Well, you know. I like the film minus the tragedy.
It's so funny because there'll be certain shit we'll be hanging out and we'll be driving. I'll look out and go, blah, blah, blah. He goes, yeah, that's actually a Ukraine eagle from the Port St. Lucie stream. Wow, how do you know that? I just read a lot.
So I type, are crows smart? It says, yes, crows are widely recognized as highly intelligent species.
What's the dumbest animal?
They're compared to the intelligence of a 7-year-old human, a crow is.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're up there with dolphins and,
So how is a dolphin? Dolphin feels like it's at least 22 on spring break. They like to hump. They are very, very saucy.
So yeah, I'm gonna see like based on human age, what they're so dolphins are compared to that of a 3-year-old.
What?
Maybe even a 4-year-old. They said 3 to 4-year-old. They have base cognitive abilities, self-awareness, and learning capabilities of a young child, 3 to 4.
What's all this horse shit that dolphins are so smart?
I think that is still pretty intelligent for. Let's see what octopus.
Yeah, octopus has got the intelligence of a 4.5-year-old. Like, I'm not that impressed, Denny's.
An octopus is about as smart as a 3-year-old child. So octopus and dolphin are kind of in the same.
Am I not giving that enough credit? I guess maybe.
Yeah, I think it's pretty.
Gosh, am I being an octopus dick?
Like the sea creatures, you're just dissing on them. Let's see. Yeah, man, I think crows are smarter than dolphins and octopus.
How about this one? How smart is an elephant? I was told they are smart AF. So they mourn their dead. When one of their
yes,
someone in their family or in their elephant tribe dies, they they're known to wail and cry and just really have a hurtful time with it.
So elephants exhibit cognitive abilities compared to those of young children. They can perform tasks requiring deductive reasoning, body awareness, and even understand human pointing, which they said a 3-year-old child or a Labrador Retriever kind of intelligence level. But they said they're at an age of 4, a 4-year-old.
So elephant so far is the smartest.
Next to crow. I think crow is 7-year-old.
That's right. Fuck that crow. That's right.
Yeah, man.
We don't love them crows.
Dude, crows before hoes. I'm sorry. I just said it not to be crass.
No, do it for
7-year-old child. It's backed up on multiple sites.
All right,
here.
so then I really do need, before this podcast, is what is the smartest animal on the planet that you go, all right, this person's 76 years old mentally, they have wisdom, and they smoke a pipe.
They got art.
They make you sit on their lap. They tell you ways of going about life.
So the smartest animal on Earth is given to the chimpanzee. It has self-awareness, complex social structure, problem-solving, tool using, which I think is one of the bigger, an opposable thumb, which is huge. It shares 99% of our DNA as well.
So what age is that?
So they got to. So if they're learning languages and stuff, they got to be. It doesn't give me. Let me see my age.
They are sweet too. When you see a lovable chimpanzee, it warms my heart. When they go up and hug and kiss the person. You know the other videos that get me? I don't know if you have any kind of emotional tie to it. You ever see them videos where there's a person that, I don't know, raises some fucking crazy lion out in the safari, and it's a monster and it's a beast, but it just somehow loves this one human, and they separate for 4 years, and then the lion sees the human.
Yes.
And they hug, and they, oh, my kid. The lion even says, I miss you. It's so... Yeah, you're not. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's cute. They're fun videos. No, I never really watch them, but I get the sentiments.
What a dick. And I'm talking about me.
So I think chimps is smarter than, yes, a gorilla and an ape. That's what at least I'm going on quick. We're going internet searches here.
So, kids, that's what we've learned tonight. Chimps are the smartest animals other than humans. And honestly, man, there's sometimes I would rather take chimp advice than, I have an uncle in Rhode Island. I wouldn't take his advice.
Yeah, chimps, they dominate. There's a thing called a bonobo. I've never heard of that. So I didn't even look at it. Yeah, I know. It was
Watch your mouth.
Bonobo animal. I don't even know what the hell that is. Oh, dude, it looks just like a human/chimp. So it's another primate. It's probably very similar.
Good stuff, Dennys.
Yeah, well, hey. So let's see. But yeah, that's all because that one dude, they used the dolphin to transport stuff. So that just shows you how smart they are, too.
Here's a couple conspiracy theories people want to know. Where do we stand? Is it possible at all? Or is it completely no friggin' way?
All right.
First one, any shot, any way Tupac is still alive?
Man, I don't see the benefit. I don't know. I don't. So like Tupac, I don't think still alive. Like Elvis, I don't think still alive.
Elvis? Who are these people saying Elvis is still alive?
Dude,
I mean,
for a long time, that was a rumor of my youth.
It still happens. There's still Elvis where people think Elvis is still alive,
which is insane.
Well, there's Elvis impersonators. Of course, his spirit is alive through Elvis impersonating.
Yeah.
All right. Did the government kill JFK? Do you think they did, or is that a man acting alone through his own crazy ways?
That one really does feel like the government was stepping in on that.
So you're going, yes.
Doesn't it feel like that? Everything I hear about that forever just always does feel like there's a conspiracy behind that.
So I didn't grow up in that time, and I can only go on documentaries and shit
Same
that people put on. So I don't know what was real. So if you grew up in that time, you would know the environment. For example, when I watched stuff about the moon, 1969 when we landed on the moon.
Yes.
The documentaries and the things I watch, they make it seem like everybody in America was so behind the moon landing. It brought the country together. It was a race with Russia, and we did it, and it was a celebration. Everyone was into that. But we know that's probably not true.
For sure.
Growing up now, everyone's not into everything everyone's in. So it really does show you, when you look back on stuff historically, is it real?
So, like you said, what's the environment like?
What was it really like? Was America across the board?
So that's what's
so fucking pumped that we were going to the moon. Was us being as a nation, we had such pride in our nation. They made it seem like that's how it was. If you look back in time, was that real though?
Yeah. So that's the type of thing that's hard to convey through an article that you're reading. That 50 years later, 100 years later, that's what we were talking about earlier with when you're getting information from the generation before, passing it down. What's the motive behind that? There's just so many factors at play.
Well, yeah.
What was the environment like? Sure, the news said it was going off, but was it really? One thing that's different too, though, back then, you only had news from one source.
Good point.
It was radio. That was it for a long time, and then it changed to television, and then you had two sources, but then you got film. And that was like a third source. And it was that for a long time.
Yeah.
And then we got internet. And that's where now everyone has their own source. So now it makes it not everyone's going to be on the same message because so many people can go to, their own source.
Well, the way I look at it, it's kind of like going to a restaurant and you're really, really hungry. And they give you a menu, kind of like Cheesecake Factory.
Yes.
There are so many options on there to the point where my brain explodes. And that's kind of how I feel about the internet. And look, I think everyone deserves a voice. Everyone deserves an opinion. Everyone should put that out there or whatever. But keep in mind, too, for mental health reasons, too many opinions, too many point of views, too many items on a menu really doesn't bring clarity. It actually kind of cloudies your thought, and it's hard to get clarity on that. So I like the fact that anybody can go on the internet and give their opinion, but keep in mind, too, there's also a detrimental side of that. That's a lot of opinion and a lot of info going in that brain that may not be the best thing for the spirit.
Well, I just think we have entertainment at all times. We fill every millisecond of our day with just information. Back then, people would maybe get 2 pieces of news a day.
Yes.
Or even possibly even a week, You had a lot of time to yourself. Now we load so much stuff in and then we go, we can't go to bed at night. And it's because, well, you consumed a year's worth of content in one day and drank, 3 coffees.
Well,
it's going to affect your sleep.
I'm called an old timer if I go against technology too much. But can't both be right? Can't you see the greatness in technology?
Well, yeah.
But also, can't you see the warning signs of, I don't know, the more connected we become, the more disconnected we are?
Well, it's double-edged. It's just like a weapon. Yeah, it protects you, but it also hurts people. It's you now possess that.
But is that just me being, when I say something along the lines like we're more disconnected now by being connected, is that an over-dramatic statement, or is there some truth to what I'm saying? And I'm okay with however anybody interprets that. I'm quite curious. Am I the only one thinking that?
No.
Is that an out to left field kind of concept? It just, I do love technology. I do, but I fear it as well. I look at it going, I just don't know if it's going to be the answer for everything.
No, I think the shift in society is they're going to probably, I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but they're probably going to have to create a system to where we teach young people how to handle the highs and lows of social media. They're probably going to have to teach it as its own class in school. And you're going to have to be educated because it's going to become part of our lives. And if anything, it's going to become more integrated into our lives. So you're just going to have to, you're going to go, all right, this whole generation, it effed them up, man. They have all sorts of conditions. So this generation, let's teach them about this stuff so they don't go so over the board.
Well, one of the first moments that I thought, I don't think this is going to turn out completely great for everybody. It was when MySpace was going on.
Yeah.
And there was a girl that she would always post some pretty insane stuff. And she got on there one time and blasted this dude about having herpes and having, I mean, really just giving out everything. And I'm going, is she allowed to do that on a public forum? What if it wasn't real? What if it was real? I didn't know the law, but I just saw that. When I first saw that go down and go, oh, this is going to turn in to the Wild Wild West where everyone's just going to start saying the worst, most embarrassing shit about people publicly, and that's going to be the new warfare.
I was probably, or some people in my generation, I'm sure, did it, but in my age range or whatever, I was like the last age range before AIM got real big, AOL chat room. Like my brother used to sit up till 4 a.m. just texting on AIM, right, or texting in chat rooms. It was just their thing. I remember the first chat room I went to, I just saw what people were texting to each other. I go, this is anonymous? Dude, you just know that's going to cause all sorts of issues. They could say anything they wanted. People were saying the most insane things I've ever seen.
And you have no idea who you're talking to. That's the other thing people don't
there
realize.
There was no tracking or understanding of IPs or anything back then.
Well, even today, you don't know who you're talking to. For sure. Nobody does. And if anything, it's gotten easier to disguise yourself. I mean, given back then, they just lacked the technology or the ability, technical know-how to. But now, it's you can get apps that track people. But just know this. You got to be a really, really, really good mastermind to hide behind all of these fake things. And if you're being a dick and you're harassing people online and you're doing some crazy shit, you're gonna get caught.
Yeah,
you're gonna get caught. You have to be Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget to get past a lot of this shit.
Oh my god, you would actually have to be
if you're acting a fool, they should be able to get you eventually.
Oh, I agree.
You hope,
unless they're good.
Unless they're good.
But yeah, people are mentioning Twitter in the chat room. So Twitter, I think, is when I noticed it really changing. I was hanging out with a kid, and Twitter, when it first emerged, at least it seemed like to me that it was big following sports players. You could text directly to sports players. So that was the appeal. And I know a lot of friends that used to do that. I go, dude, this is insane. I go, you're allowed to just text a sports player publicly on this thing. I mean, Twitter turned into, obviously, just grew to the biggest mass possible.
It's the first time ever you are able to get legit access to celebrities. Where celebrities would even answer you back if you called out a celebrity.
Early Twitter was wild west.
Let's say it's 2:00 in the morning and a celebrity's online and they see some crazy shit about them when they're drinking. Fuck you, motherfucker! And then delete.
People they didn't know what it was back then. People didn't even delete it.
I remember when MySpace was popular and then Facebook blew up, and that's when Kevin and Virginia started getting into social media, when Facebook blew up. But me and Mariana, who was our producer at the time, we were really into MySpace. So I was kind of familiar with how it was working, and they didn't really understand it. And I'm going, y'all, this is a powder keg. This could be fucking crazy.
I thought the same thing. I go, it's so unregulated, and then it's so weird because it entered a world that was already so regulated. They had a rating system for video games. They had a rating system for movies. They had TV channels you couldn't watch unless you paid for because of their content. And then you just give everyone the internet, and they can. Then when it became a phone internet and you can carry it in your pocket, you're giving everyone the most powerful thing ever just to carry around with them at all times.
To get back into some alien shit, I get a lot of emails from people who feel they have an alien experience, but they wonder, is it sleep paralysis or is it a alien or a ghost? But a lot of it is really not ghost-like. The sleep paralysis seems to be a lot of alien kind of a stuff where they describe a moment where it'd be, for example, me and you are in the room talking right now, and all of a sudden I just go paralyzed and I can't move, but it's in real time. That's what they describe. They go, it's not a dream. I'm in my room and
for sure.
I'm paralyzed. I feel like something is over my bed. Something's looking at me. Something is talking to me telepathically. I get enough of those type of emails. It makes me think, Is there something to that?
Well, so sleep paralysis and with your incubus, your succubus, or even just different creatures throughout different folklores, that seems to be a reoccurring thing for humans for whatever reason, the sleep paralysis, and either a creature looming over you with malintent, or usually those type of creatures usually aren't described positively. So what would that be? Is that folklore that humans have just passed down, we're ingrained to believe in? Is that, or is it a nightmare that's manifested? Or are we being observed by aliens? We're an experiment and we're just being observed, and that's just our way of rationalizing it? Or is it something otherworldly, not necessarily alien?
Is it a straight up medical condition? The first thing you want to do is rule out anything alien,
For sure.
ghost, and all that. So if someone does have sleep paralysis, let us know. Do you experience something like that where a being is in the room, or you feel something is holding you down? I had that one time with that Undertaker dream.
Yes.
Now, I was in a state of fever. Keep that in mind.
For sure.
So that's something that's got to be noted. But man, it was so realistic. He walked around.
It's terrifying.
Walked around my refrigerator, and it wasn't the Undertaker, the wrestler, but it looked like that type of
archetype of something big.
And he just turned around, stared at me, and then sprinted and jumped on my couch, which I'm laying there just like how I was in real time, and he's choking me, and I can't get out, and I'm trying to rip out of my dream. I don't know if you've ever had that where you find yourself almost kind of like drowning in a pool. You're trying to get your head out of the water, and once your head's out of the water, you wake up and it's over. That never...
I only had one dream ever where I drove off a cliff, and when I hit the ground, I woke up.
Did you hit the cliff?
Well, so I went off the cliff, but I woke up before I hit the ground.
You did? See, I've hit the cliff before. Or I'm sorry, I've hit the ground before.
Were you like, oh, fuck? Like, what?
My arms!
That's like, how long awake were you until you woke up? Like, how long were you dead in your dream before you?
I think I did not. I did fall off a building, and I was alive in the dream. They say that's not true, but I think they're fuck, how do they know? They weren't in my dream.
Yeah. So the weird thing about sleep paralysis is I do think when you go to sleep and you're in your REM cycle, your dream cycle, your body does secrete something to cause you to not shift in your dream. So when you're having a vivid dream, your body's not moving. So I think it does secrete something into your muscles to kind of paralyze you. You ever wake up and you're like, all right, I'm going to get up. All right, 2 minutes, I'm going to get up. I'm going to get up in 2 minutes. And you're just sitting there thinking, but you don't even move. You're just thinking, all right, I'm going to get up now. All right, maybe in like a minute I'll get up. Like, you just can't, for some reason, you just can't get up. But that's because they say that it's still easing out of your muscles.
What's the first thing you think of when you wake up? You wake up.
I usually see, what time is it? It's probably my numero.
So let's say it is, it's a Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, so time doesn't matter.
You wake up, you got a bone piece.
All right. I'm like, let me just fucking get rid of this thing. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I wake up, and usually it's, what time is it? It's probably even on weekends.
All right, so, it's like 6:15
All right, 6:15 I get up, and I go, all right, is baby awake? No, baby's not awake. Is Jen awake? No. Then I'll go out there, probably make a coffee.
And you're like, all right, I still got the bone piece.
I'll take that thing out to the living room, maybe. I'll try to get usually what I'll do is I'll feed the dog. So my morning's a little complicated. So right when I wake up, I have to take the dog out. I got to feed her.
You wake up real quick. That's how, if you're a dog or an animal owner and you know you have shit to do in the morning, you have to get up right away. And there ain't no time to fucking snooze.
Yeah, I usually don't. So the way I do it for years is I have 2 alarms set. I have one set 1 hour before the one I'm supposed to get up. So when it goes off, I have to turn it off. I see it and I'm like, oh, all right. That's my first alarm. That's my 3 a.m. alarm. And then when the next one goes off at 4, I just get right up. There's no snoozing. So what that does is that mentally prepares me that in an hour I have to get up.
If you've got sleep paralysis, let us know, especially in the chat room. I'd like to talk to people who do go through that. Do you feel it's just a medical condition? Do you think there's something paranormal going on? Is it just maybe too many wine coolers? do wine coolers even exist anymore?
Oh yeah,
Wine coolers do?
Yeah, those they come in those little glass bottles. Those were so hot.
Wine coolers were the shit back in the 90s.
There's no way they went out of style. Those things are too good.
They were not good. That was some Denny's. Wine coolers were not good.
I'm just saying, everyone liked wine coolers.
Well, because you get a wine cooler buzz for cheap.
Mixing wine with fruit juice. I mean, I think they're just oh yeah, man, they make so many.
But you know what I'm talking about? The 1988
oh yeah,
wine
I don't
cooler.
know. I don't know if that still exists, but that concept lives on at least.
I like that idea that wine mixed with fruit.
Totally.
Ooh, little mango maybe. Would mango and a white wine go together, or is that disgusting?
Mango white wine, yeah.
You like that?
I think that would work. What about melon?
Oh, baby, I love melon.
All right.
I don't know. Something about wine does give me the hornies. Certain
It's a different type of alcohol.
It is. Certain alcohol hits me differently. Some makes me amp. Some makes me want to be creative. And then some's like, time to pork.
Yeah.
Like wine's a porking kind
Wine's
of.
you feel sexy. You want to put your hair down.
You do. You want to, I don't know, like dance
Yeah.
with some French music.
I agree.
Get a cheese plate.
I agree. Tequila, you're trying to just get drunk as you can as quick.
Tequila, you're trying to eat the stop sign. You're beating your chest.
So I think beer
You're
makes
crying. You're crying in the rain, possibly.
That's what I was saying. Like, liquor doesn't make me ever hungry. Beer is the only alcohol that I could get hungry later on.
I do not get hungry on liquor.
I once the liquor enters my system, it's a liquor night.
It becomes I only want liquor. Isn't that something?
If I drink beer though, I'll have wings later or something.
Beer is just so fucking bloating, man. I used to drink so much beer. I would drink those craft beers. We were doing so many craft beers with the show. Every Friday we were interviewing these breweries that would bring in the thickest beers, and nothing against them because they were good, but dude, I would have like 4 of them, and it was 30,000 calories off 5 beers.
I know. I always stuck with lights or ultralights.
And then I would, you're hungry still because it's after you finally come down,
a 4,000 calorie day.
order a pizza. Now you're at 60,000 calories, and you're why do I have a 4th chin?
Yeah, that's the problem with that stuff. So you got to go ultralight beers. You can drink a ton of them, and you can eat food. You're not bloated. The thick, oh gosh, they're just awful.
I like them because I look at them not as beer anymore. I look at them as a straight up drink.
They're a malt liquor, I would say, because a lot of them are higher alcohol than beer. Beer's not really that high alcohol.
I kind of want to get messed up on some Strawberry Hill. Go old school style.
All right,
kick it 1996.
We used to buy those gallons. I think it's Carlos Rossi. Like, it's gallons of wine. It was a gallon glass jug of wine, and 3 of us would finish one of those.
Oh, back in the day, we would buy the shittiest beer. I remember we snuck into, I was probably 19 or 20 years old. Shouldn't have been drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I was up in Jupiter, and we snuck into a pool area.
Mm-hmm.
Just to
chill.
I
used to do it all
we
the
had
time.
some girls there, so we all jumped over we had like 5 cases of beer, and here comes the cops. I don't know how the fuck I talked the cop out of A, we were trespassing, B, we were underage drinking, and somehow I talked him into thinking I was 24 years old, out of town. This was during a time where shit wasn't checked like it was checked.
People wouldn't usually do stuff like that. So if somebody did, they were like, all right, this person, all right.
So I get out of the situation, and then I realize, oh shit, I left all the beer. And so we all get out of the pool, and I push my luck. I go, oh, you know what? I left all those cases of beer at the pool. Can I just climb over the fence real quick and get them? The cop let me do it.
Really?
Yes. I climbed over the fence. I grabbed all of the beer, brought it back, gave it to my boys, and another cop drives by, flashes his light, and the cop never saw it. And we went back down on the beach and drank all the beer. Yeah.
I remember we broke into one and we were all smoking a joint. I've told the story before, but That's where they passed me a joint. We were taking a rip, and I went to pass it, and the person wouldn't take it. And I kept poking him with it, and I look, and it's a police officer. I was like, "Oh my god!" I jumped over my bench and ran for the beach.
There was again Jupiter. There was a part. I think I just had turned 20, and it was one of those movie parties where there was 200 people at this party, and I was talking to this girl. And she walked into the party with another dude, and I knew who this dude was, and my friends didn't like him, and we were just ending, so it wasn't like she was stepping out, but it was over, and then she walked in with that dude, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm going, fuck my day, man. This really, and I have a beer in my hand. And as I'm looking at all this develop, the cops raid the party. Everyone runs out. And I'm still so caught up on the girl with the guy. I have my beer in my hand. And I even remember the police officer's name still. He goes, "You! Come here." I'm like, fuck. I go, "All right, guys, I guess I'm going to the big house." And I lied to the cop about my birthday, but it was the dumbest. I only lied about 3 days of my birthday.
That makes no sense.
That's exactly what he said. He goes, "Dude, this is the dumbest lie I've ever heard." He goes, I'm like, "I'm 20. I'm sorry. I don't know why I lied. It was stupid." I go, "This girl and this guy walked in." I'm explaining all this shit to him.
My God.
He has me in handcuffs, and as I'm in handcuffs, the girl and the guy walk right by me at the party. It just was, the universe was against me that day. It was a movie moment.
That's awesome. I've been to so many parties like that. I had a cop walk in. I think I've told this before too, but I was at the table. It's like one of those breakfast nooks. It's kind of a circular sitting area. And it has a circular table, and I'm rolling joints onto the table. And so there's probably, I don't know, a quarter of weed on the table, just crushed up. And the sliding door that I'm facing opens up, and 2 police officers walk in. They're like, "Who owns this house?" I was like, "Dude, I'll go get him." I pushed all the weed on the floor, and I walked out the front door and got in my car and drove off. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't alert anyone. I just walked. I told the police officer I'd go get the owner.
I'll go get the owner. I'm out.
And I just walked right out the front door. I was like, "Dude, I am not getting arrested for this."
The thing that sucked about the party that I was at, I'm not kidding, there was 200 people there. I was the only fuck in handcuffs out of everybody.
'Cause you lied about
I was
your
the
age.
only one that was caught because I was so caught up in the drama going on. It was pretty awful, Dennys.
Yeah, I used to run so much from police officers.
But look at you now, though. You're a sweetheart.
I try to stay on the straight and narrow now.
I think that's good. To me, some of the best people I've ever met are people that were, in trouble a lot younger, learned the error of their ways, grew from it, said that's not the right way, and matured. And I think that's what life's about. It's okay to change your mind in life. You can have an opinion at age 21, and then at age 33, you can change your opinion.
You'll go through a few different opinion phases.
That's part of growing, and that's part of life. So that's one thing. I feel like, you said this when you were 19. Well, I was 19. I don't fucking feel that way at all.
Hormones were coursing.
I was an asshole.
Man, I just feel like no matter how cool you are at that age, and there's some cool people, so not everyone, but man, a lot of teenagers, dude, you no longer care about your parents' opinion. Yeah. So your peers become your opinion that's important. It really just makes that age is just so rough. I think dating all the way back to ancient Sumeria, that age is always just piss and vinegar, man.
Yeah, I just go with me as my own personal experience and then coaching kids for so long in baseball. Age 10 on, the double digit, I would say from 10 to 14, that was the toughest age. Because the little kids, they're adorable, they're cute.
Yes.
It's not even really about, you want them to have fun, you want them to learn the fundamentals.
Yes.
Age 10, they're mini adult. They're starting to.
All right,
they're questioning everything, and they're kind of dicky about it. And then hopefully they start to mature a little bit in high school, and they can still be dicky in high school.
High school, they're probably the worst because there's this weird confidence that comes along with being young.
I hear you. Middle school, man, for me, and I'm only.
That's when I think you're causing the most trouble.
I'm only talking about my perspective as coaching baseball for so long with kids. Middle school kids were they're
just jerks, man.
They are. And I think it's a tough time for a human. You're morphing into little kid, into puberty, adolescence.
You're right.
Which is now just a step below being an adult. That's fucking crazy. It's a lot going through your head, man.
Well, and then hormones really, because you're just starting to figure out everything. You're like, all right, I think I got it. And all of a sudden hormones hit you and you're like, oh my God, this new feeling that I have to deal with that I've never had to deal with.
Having a crush on somebody.
Embarrassment's rough at that age too.
Oh, but knowing that you have a crush on somebody and you want to ask them out, and you're trying to get the courage to do that. It's dreadful.
It is.
Now, I'm sure there's some people out there, they're like, man, that shit was so easy. I think for a lot of people, especially when you're young, that shit is not easy to do. To ask out a girl, to let them know you like them.
Well, and it's tough because everyone communicates so quickly. It was internet before internet. So if you failed, it was very public. And then you had to coexist in that environment. Oh man, I think we've all gotten turned down.
Oh yeah.
Also, we've all hit the home run.
We all have a cringy moment when it comes to just dating, being young or being old. Look, there's cringy moments at all ages. It's not an age thing.
I think cringe is just, if you put yourself out there, you're bound to just have cringe.
But you ever look back and you go, what the fuck was I thinking?
I think every human goes through that probably every 8 years. You just go, man, because it's weird. At present day, you go, all right, I feel like, I'm well-rounded. I've learned a fair amount.
Yes.
And then you look back in 8 years from now, you'll go, gosh, I was just such an idiot then. You just wisdom is something that's slowly earned.
Well, I asked you the other day, I go, like I think about things, how I was 5 years ago, and I go, oh my gosh, I feel so much better that I'm not that way. But in another 3 years, when I look back at this time and go, I can't believe how I handled that shit.
You will.
It's crazy.
It is, man. It really is.
But I think that's part of the human journey, right?
And I think you try to, tick upward. You try to. And if you plateau or you go down, then the good thing about going down is you can always go up.
Denny, that's some inspirational shit.
That's what I'm here
Give
for.
us one more fact with one of your facts.
All right. Let's see here. So we pretty much only did one. Do you want something? That's it. We just
give us a couple.
We chat. Well, I'm saying, do you want something like?
Well, this is just how we talk at the dining room table, pretty much.
For sure. So here, maybe I'll leave on a positive note. So I looked into this, and they do say that there is validity to it. The next time you're feeling down, try immersing your hands in ice water while focusing on good moments. This will help you relax and will actually even alleviate headaches. What it does is it stimulates the vagus nerve, whatever it is, which plays a crucial role in regulating the parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for relaxation and stress reduction. CWIs, they call it, cold water immersion. You don't have to completely immerse yourself, but when you do a cold water immersion, it does reset your nervous system.
I love it.
So
I give it an A.
So if you're feeling down, what it basically does is it kind of just re-kickstarts your nervous system a little bit, and then hopefully it gets you out of that funk.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mood interrupter.
Basically, that's what it is. If you're causing your system to react, you're giving yourself a new sensation, all of that takes your mind. Your mind really controls everything.
No,
you can distract yourself just enough. Sometimes you can just bounce yourself out of a funk.
The one thing I definitely would say works for me if I have any kind of depression issues, or if I just, sometimes people wake up with the blues and you may not even understand why. But if you do find yourself in a depression rut, the one thing I do think that does help are mood interrupters. Mm-hmm. Whether that's even just getting up and going for a walk and taking a picture of a squirrel.
I think that's walking really does a lot for the mood.
It does. And if you're not able to walk,
put your hands in the cold water.
Put your hands in the cold water or draw. I know a lot of that, because I think a lot of times people think that shit is silly. Mm-hmm. Why am I drawing? I'm wasting time. I'm wasting my life away. But what's the difference of you sitting on your couch and stewing with negative thoughts, or drawing and having a mood interrupt? I'm only using drawing because that's the last thing I did when I was feeling a little bit down and out. I just think doing an activity and staying busy,
I think is good.
There's a positive OCD I believe in. When you get OCD and obsessed about a fun, positive project that lifts up your spirit.
Well, and art's cool too because you get something from it. You have something tangible at the end of it.
Totally. So just a little something that's helped me out anytime I get in a depressed mood, because sometimes I can struggle with that kind of stuff. And the thing that does help me, mood interrupter, whatever that means to you. And that could mean going to Wawa and getting a sub, unless you're eating too many subs and that depresses you.
And that's what you're trying to get away from.
I would not suggest that. You know what, Denny's? Come on. We got one more. Come on. Give us one more.
One more random fact for y'all here. Let's see. So, you know the idiom crocodile tears?
Yes.
That dates all the way back to the 14th century. And the phrase originates, I thought maybe just because, it's like unbelievable tears,
Yes.
Like you don't believe the
They're
tears.
fake-ass tears.
But that originates because they believed that crocodiles, the expression originates from the ancient belief that crocodiles weep while eating their prey, either to lure victims or to express remorse. But it's actually because their jaw muscles are pressing against their tear glands, and this mechanical reflex, not sorrow, gave rise to the myth. So when crocodiles chew, it causes them to cry. That's the scientific
They ain't
method
feeling
behind it.
sad. They're just feeling famished.
They thought maybe it was like a tactic in order to show that they're remorseful for what they're doing while they're eating you. So that's the phrase is crocodile tears. They're eating you, but they're crying about it.
I'll tell you who gives the best crocodile tears is YouTube apology. People who do a YouTube apology.
Oh my gosh.
They give I didn't mean to make my son do all that. I mean, there's not a tear coming. They might be able to squeeze a one, and they're so pumped about that. I mean,
I just feel like humans we're designed to protect ourselves and survive.
Yeah, the rat in the corner situation.
Totally. So we're designed to be very skeptical of emotions, because that's our body's way of telling us, a situation's good or a situation's bad, to trust it, to not trust it.
Well, you can weaponize emotions.
Totally. It's a survival tactic. So when you see somebody, and it's like, when you see somebody genuinely cry or react the appropriate way if somebody in their family goes missing or is harmed, you can detect that as a human being. They're giving off a animal in distress in water, and we pick up on that.
I wouldn't say every single time there's an interview on the news where they interview the husband. Man, she went out, and I haven't seen her since. I just wanted her to come back home. You can tell when some of these guys that murder their wives or their girlfriends and they do news interviews, you're watching this going, they did it. Like they definitely did it. You can tell by the way they're acting.
The reaction is just not.
Yes.
It's not what you would expect. It's not how you would react if somebody in your family went.
I'm not saying it's 100% because I'm sure because everyone does grieve different, and someone will show me an example of someone who acted odd, who didn't kill the person.
For sure.
But
just I say
the percentages are high.
Well, our instincts kick in on that. We look for that.
You're like, what the? And sometimes this shit just doesn't sound right. It's always that friend too that hangs around too long, asking the police questions, that wants to be on the news and be suspect of that person. They want the information of the murder. But I think that's going to be it for today, guys. We apologize. It was just a half a show with just me and Sweet Denny's, but we did enjoy hanging out with you. We loved it. Please make sure you send me your original music. For whatever reason, I'm not getting submissions, and I don't know if my Facebook has gotten hacked. But if you have sent me an original song that you or your friend has written, they don't have to be in South Florida, just somebody who listens in our audience, please send it to me.
Or send it to mail@kvjshow.com, because then I'll just forward it to you.
And maybe I'll make even a KVJ announcement on there to get more people involved. It really does mean a lot to me to try to promote people who write their original music. It is not an easy thing, just with arts in general, whether you're a painter, whether you are a songwriter, or you do poetry. It takes a lot for people to get eyeballs on your stuff. So even though it's just a small little podcast, it's better than nothing, and hopefully it grows into something beautiful. So send us our shit. We don't care what type of genre it is. Denny's, any final thoughts?
No.
Okay, I love it. Thank you, man. Dance. You always get my back. I appreciate that. Okay, guys. We love you all, and Bigfoot is real.
What was that? What? What's that sound? It's aliens and they're living in your town. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town. Are you scared of aliens? Well, you should be, 'cause aliens wanna probe around in your booty.